was laying in some grass. And my first memory was unbelievable pain. The only noise I could hear really was just pounding, pounding in my ears, you know. I felt so unbelievably sick that I couldn't stay in one place. It was like something was telling me just to get up, to go. And then all of a sudden I started thinking, I didn't know who I was or where I was.
Imagine yourself as a teenager, wandering alone, confused and vulnerable, without any idea at all of your name, your age, the date, or even what city you're in. Last September, this nightmare happened to an 18-year-old girl in Longview, Washington. An accident or an attack, the authorities are not sure which, left her with total and complete amnesia. It's an extremely rare disorder that reportedly cripples only 1 in 5 million. It is not only rare, it is a frightening experience in which no face is familiar, and even your own identity is a mystery.
My head was hurting so much, I wasn't really there. And the first person I saw was this older man leaning against a car, and it seemed like it took forever to get to him.
She asked the stranger for help, and he volunteered to take her to the nearest police station. In the car, he never identified himself. The stranger dropped her off a half a block away from the police station, and instead of helping her inside, immediately drove off. Deputy Joe Reese was leaving the station when he encountered the confused girl.
Can you help me?
Sure. What seems to be the problem?
I can't remember anything.
I met her out in front of the Hall of Justice at about 3:15 in the afternoon. She looked disorientated, scared. I told her I was going to take her to the hospital. She didn't know what a hospital was.
Real still, and we'll be over with right away and find out what's wrong with you.
This girl had a small lump on the back of her head, which was compatible with either being struck on the back of the head with an object or falling down, and had developed acute amnesia as a result of that single blow. She had no recall about her family. She had no idea what age she was or whether she had completed high school, nor where she had attended high school.
We just need to go through and see if we can find a size or any markings or anything.
Because there were few clues to the girl's identity, Deputy Reese felt their only hope was to place an article in the Longview Daily News to see if anyone recognized this Jane Doe. That afternoon, Gloria Cook saw the picture in the newspaper and recognized it was her daughter, Kyra. She and her husband, Terry, rushed to the hospital. 24 hours had passed since Kyra's accident.
A nurse brought a girl down the hallway toward us. And for a minute there, I thought, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe this isn't Kyra. She looked different and carried herself different. But when she got up to us, I knew it was Kyra. And Kyra looked at us and looked at the deputy. She turned around to the nurse and she said, "Are these supposed to be my parents?"
The first time I met my parents was at the hospital. I think a day or two after I was there, and they were just like every other person I'd met, totally strangers. I think I felt real bad because the feelings weren't there, nothing was there, and it was really dragging myself down, trying to make up feelings even.
After 5 days in the hospital, Kyra was allowed to go home. But what should have been familiar surroundings triggered no memories for Kyra. To her, it was just like visiting a strange new house.
First time I went into my room, I felt really guilty. I felt like I was in somebody else's room, and I didn't want to look through anything. I did not want to touch anything. It took me a couple months before I would even go through drawers. And then when I first read my diary, I felt like I was invading somebody's privacy. It took me so long to get through it because I didn't really connect the idea that that was actually me before. the accident.
Kyra now dresses differently, walks differently, even speaks differently. Before the accident, friends described Kyra as being a bit on the wild side. Now, she is much calmer and more thoughtful. But she has no memory at all of once familiar people and places. Despite her memory losses, Kyra's amnesia is not total. She has retained her talent for art, can remember algebra, and can still speak German.
Amnesia is a mystery to us. I never had the feeling that Kyra was faking the amnesia. She was constantly thinking very clearly and rationally about how she might understand who she was.
Does this mean anything?
It's like looking at a stranger.
It's difficult enough, I guess, for a parent to have a child die. But when you have a child that loses their entire life and doesn't even know you, and you have to live with that, and every day you wake up hoping, today maybe she'll remember. And at the end of the day, you cry because she didn't.
The tragic incident that changed Kyra's life happened in just a brief 1-hour period. Kyra left home to have lunch with a friend and then went to the post office to mail a package to her German pen pal. The authorities believe that Kyra left the post office at about 2:15, but no one knows what happened between 2:15 and 3 p.m. when Kyra woke up in the park, dazed, confused, without any memory of what had happened.
My personal theory is she was either dodging a car or was struck by a car and fell and hit her head. There's so much traffic in the area there. It's a 25-mile-an-hour zone, and people tend to drive a little faster than that. At the hospital, we checked for other injuries. There were no other injuries but the bump on the base of her skull.
Kyra's parents have a totally different theory of what happened in the park that afternoon.
Knowing Kyra, she took a shortcut from the post office. I think someone grabbed her from behind by the throat. Didn't realize how strong she was. She started to fight them off, and they took their fist and hit her and caught her at the base of her skull.
Kyra was carrying a brown paper sack containing her makeup and spending money for the day. When she came to in the park, it was gone. There is a third theory. Allegedly, a local girl who looked very much like Kyra had been assaulted by a strange man on 3 different occasions. Perhaps Kyra was attacked in the park, but it was a case of mistaken identity. Perhaps the key to this mystery is the missing stranger who drove Kyra to the police station. Kyra can understandably remember few details about this man or his car, and repeated appeals in the local newspaper and by the police department for this stranger to come forward have met with no success.
If he would even talk to us anonymously, call anonymously and let us know, did she say anything in the car? Did he see anything? He was the closest person to her at the time it happened.
It has been 9 months since the old Kyra ceased to exist. No one, her parents, her doctor, even Kyra herself, can take her back and fill in the 18 years that are missing from Kyra's memory. For Kyra to regain her past, authorities feel that something or someone must trigger her memory. They would like to speak with a stranger who drove Kyra to the police station that day, or anyone at all who was in the park that afternoon and may have seen something.
When people are talking about the past between themselves, I envy them for having a past. And as the months grow on after the accident, I'm building up the past. So, you know, I'm just looking forward to the day when I can look back on 20 years and just think of all those things.